Welcome to the Rethink Leadership podcast with me, Jeremy Blaine. I interview leaders, experts and business professionals from around the world who are bringing leadership principles and know-how into the digitally driven 21st century workplace, with focus firmly on the how-to rather than the what. Each episode is in aid of a charity chosen by my guests, and since 2020, we've made donations to over 80 global and local causes.
Welcome to this episode of the Rethink Leadership podcast with my guest, Mireia Mujika. Mireia is a leadership strategist, executive coach, and founder of Bare&Brave. She's an expert in digital era leadership with a background in digital product management and experience working with global teams, helping leaders unlock clarity, effectiveness, and impact. Mireia is known for her thoughtful, energizing approach to leadership transformation, blending evidence-based practices with human-centered coaching. Mireia blends proven leadership frameworks with deep human insight to support transformation from the inside out. And we discussed that in the context of the difference between leading and managing today, and what it takes to transition into a leadership role in an age where we're ever accelerating with increasing uncertainty and unpredictability. In fact, Mireia helps unlock two must-have capabilities for new and existing leaders everywhere. This episode is in aid of Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders, to which we have made a donation as a thank you to Mireia for joining us. Mireia, thank you for joining me and welcome. Please tell us about yourself and Bare&Brave.
Okay, so my name is Mireia. I'm come originally from the north of Spain, from the Basque Country. And I've been living in Dubai for 12 years. It's going to be 13 actually next month. And I've been, my background is actually in digital product management. But then after having my first child, I changed careers and I went on to leadership. So leadership coaching and training and team coaching as well. That's mainly what we do at Bare&Brave in a nutshell.
Yeah, and in fact, you know, your career beforehand and still working kind of on the cusp of the digital and the leadership, the human side of things must be a real benefit for you now in Bare&Brave.
Indeed it is. Yeah. Above all, when I work also with tech companies, because then obviously I know all the jargon and everything, so it's very easy for me. But as you say, like that digital background, and now with the rise of AI also, right? And having that leadership built in me, that it took me a while. I mean, I'm still learning, right? But that is a real benefit. Indeed, it is. Yeah. What was not a benefit? I mean, or what I was lacking when I started actually Bare&Brave, it was knowledge of business. How do you do business and sales and marketing? I had never looked at those fields, right? And suddenly when I started building my own company, I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea about any of this. So that was, it's still a big learning. I think still I have no idea what I'm doing in certain fields.
Well, from the outside, it looks like you certainly have mastered that because you're not doing too badly, let me say. And
Thank you very much.
congratulations on Bare&Brave as well. And I would really like to explore where you come at this from because we know we both have a strong digital link in what we do. So we know that the challenge is on leadership and management across businesses today. But I'm very interested to hear from you how you define the difference these days between leaders and managers.
It's not that easy, right, to define that. I always find it like, wow, how do we do that? But I think one easy way to look at it is managers many times focus on the today, like, okay, we do the task, we reach the KPIs, we have to execute, right? And they are mainly in the present and sometimes in the past. Whereas a leader has to be looking at tomorrow. He has to be looking at the future. Like he has to be thinking of, okay, this is the vision now. What is the vision in 2030? What is the vision in 2035? He needs to be looking at how do I become these people that I'm working with? How do I make them bigger? How do I make them better? So the leaders have to be always with one eye in the future. That's, I think, some way to explain it quite quickly and easily.
Yeah, I like that. And it's managers is about today, about the delivery, leaders about tomorrow and the growth of the
It's about
company, the
inspiring. It's
organization.
about exactly
Yeah.
inspiring, growing people. It's about like that vision. It's about going to the future. What are we gonna do? How do I inspire? What are the values on these people? How do I tackle into that? Uh, what is this person about? How can I how can I nudge them so that they are happy? Well, not happy. Happy. I don't like that word, but how do I manage so that they are resourceful, so that they are in a place where they want to be? Right? I think those are the things that a leader is thinking of and
Yeah,
tackling.
I'd agree with it. We know it, there's a lot more to it, but I think when you bring it down to its sort of bare bones, that's really useful to get the definition because this is where you really focus your work. And it's really tough out there for leaders and managers at the moment. So I'd love to hear from you, Mireia. What makes up the best leaders and managers that you've worked with today? Is it purely around skill, performance, and competence, or is there something else?
No, I think it's never about that, right? I think it's never only about that. It has to be there, the performance has to be there. But I think it's a lot about, I think the best managers that I've worked with, they are not afraid of being authentic. I think that's one thing that I see there. They they are people of integrity. They are very confident of themselves without the arrogance, right? They're just confident on themselves and on their capabilities. uh, they are not afraid of being themselves. I think that's something that I see in every leader I that they are really considered great leaders. And then they have this great balance between achieving the KPIs, between like pushing people and all that, and managing relationships. They are aware of how important relationships are. I think that's magical. When that happens, it's like, ooh, great. Because we know many leaders that they are very good with relationships, but they don't achieve the KPIs, and we know many leaders that, yes, they achieve the KPIs, but at the cost of the relationships, right? So having those two balanced out, I think that's that magical point, when you can say like, wow, this leader is gonna break it. It's gonna be really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I like how you started with that. It's almost kind of facing the fear of what they don't know as well with integrity and openness.
Yeah.
And therefore, actually, that brings an authenticity so they don't have to be afraid of showing themselves in that. But I really think that is a key point about the relationship element and understanding the benefits of getting that right and the costs of getting that wrong.
Yeah.
So the question really then for me is to lead from there is that we're at really a change of the guard at the moment. We have many organizations whose leadership are moving out. We're having managers who are moving up to leadership, perhaps in their first roles or further up into the leadership in the information in the organization. But we're also still trying to deal with the fast pace of transformation. So, from your perspective, Mireia, what are the imperatives today for managers who are transitioning into leadership or expanding their leadership skill sets?
That's a very good question. I think sometimes, I see, and this is an analogy that I have used before, but I think sometimes, we have we tell managers to go and ride Tour de France with a toddler's bike. They're not equipped. They don't even have a helmet. They don't have the shoes. They don't even have the jersey, and we didn't even give them some electrolytes. And we told them to go and ride the Tour de France, right? So they are not equipped. That happened to me as well. I remember the first time that I was managing people. Uh, I went to my manager. I was like, and now what do I do? It's also like when you become a parent. You have like that little bundle of joy, and you are like, what am I supposed to do with this? So it's a little bit that, right? Like, hey, if you're seeing already in the company that these people are going to be managers that are going to have like direct reportees, let's equip them, right? And if the company doesn't provide that, then do it yourself. So try to learn what are the skills that you need, what is the mindset that you need, right? But I think from going like to manager to leader, you need that mindset of like, hey, I'm not just managing now. I'm actually having that leadership vision. I have to have that eye in the future. I have to move into that, right? So that's, I think, one important thing. And I think the derailers, or like what is an obstacle there, I think many times is that need of control that we have, right? So sometimes we jump into that manager or that leader position, and we're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, let me see, I'm gonna micromanage, I'm gonna control everything, like, so that any decision, so that I have to see because I need to know, right? The other thing that we sometimes do is like, oh my god, I'm gonna know it all, so that people think that they realize that I know it all. Because if they think that I don't know it all, then maybe I'm not in the right position, or I'm gonna win all my relationships. Because if I don't win all my relationships, then oh my God, people are gonna think that I'm not the right person, or they would not like me, and then I would not be a good leader. So I think that transition from manager to leader is, there are lots of things that you need to take into account, right? That one, if the company provides that equipment for you, if they are sending you to Tour de France with a toddler's bike or not, and if you realize that you are on the toddler bike, then make the change, take the other bike and buy yourself some equipment. Then be aware of like that fear that you may have, right? The fear of not knowing, the fear of not being capable, and try to change that. Try to change that mindset of like, okay, I'm here for a reason. Also, normally, from what I see, people normally, there are always cases, but people normally are not demoted in the first 6 months, right? The first 6 months are like, go ahead and try, and we'll be having an eye on you and see, but take it easy. You have time. So at least you have 6 months probably. So take it easy, look at what you can do, look what you cannot do. And above all, in that time, on those 6 months, take time to build relationships. And don't start making change like crazy, right? So go ahead, take your time, build a relationship. And because once that you build the relationships, people will tell you what is needed in every department, right? And then also, I think, and this is also, for example, a mistake that I did when I went as head of product, as head of digital product, and I was directly reporting to the GM, right? And at that time, so I built a relationship with my team, but I completely ignored the relationship with the other departments. And that obviously came and bite me and beat me. Because we need those relationships in order to do our job properly. So if you are becoming a manager, like take a leader, please take into account that building of relationships.
Yeah, so important. And I go right back to what you said at the beginning, though, Mireia, is that because I see this too, is that many managers moving into leadership or graduating from a low-level leader to a senior leader, they're not
Yeah,
equipped
I know.
because they're not taught. They're not coached because we're
Yeah,
trying to do things. They've been great in their operational role, so we think they can become a great leader or a great manager. And it's not always the case, but I like your advice around how we do things, fighting the need, for example, to control everything and needing to know everything. It's like we can learn. We can learn as we go. We're only human, right?
exactly.
Do
Exactly.
you have any examples then, based on what you've shared there? Have you got any examples of leaders that you've worked with where into their role they've created early wins for themselves and what's been the impact?
Look, I have one example of this woman that is actually the opposite, right? So she went so much into building relationships that she actually didn't build them. She placed them on fear. So she wanted to have those relationships, and she went like trying to, but then she was needing that. So it was coming from that building of relationship, was coming from the fear of not being accepted, of they're not gonna like me, maybe they think that I shouldn't be here, I think of myself that I'm a fraud. Yeah. So she went into that, and she tried to build those relationships. She forgot about her KPIs and what she was supposed to achieve in those 6 months. And well, we actually could put it back on the road, but she was just losing it just because she was playing from fear. So sometimes, and that's what I think we do sometimes, right? We're playing like not to lose instead of to win. And she had that mindset again of like, oh, I don't know if I should be here or not. So playing from fear, and that almost cost her, cost her her promotion. So that's one of the samples. I think the best examples that I have seen is people that went there and took their time and they build the relationships that they needed, but and above all, going from this place of, again, of the integrity, of confidence, of thinking like, yeah, I'm good enough and I'm here for a reason, like they promoted me not because they see something in me and I see it as well, so go ahead. Yeah, so those are, I think, the best examples that I have seen, that they have actually done it right, taking their time and building those relationships.
But it's a theme that you come back to time and again. Well, two themes. First of all, take your time. Secondly, relationships are everything. So who are the key stakeholders, whether it's subordinates, peers, or seniors that you need to build, and take time to build those relationships, learn from them, get some advice from them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because you've talked about one of the derailers being this almost need to do things really quickly,
yeah.
which are big risks for high performing leaders, of course. What other derailers do we have to watch out for?
Who I think it's the ones that we mentioned already. Well, above all, is that fear. Like
Mm,
if you're playing from fear, that's gonna derail you. That's gonna make you less effective, right?
mm,
And then it's that need of controlling, is that need of knowing everything, is that need of being liked. I need to be liked so that I can actually perform, right? Those are gonna be always those are going to make us less effective
mm.
always. I think that those are the main things. Um, yeah, and also, if you have no self-awareness, right, like if a leader doesn't have that self-awareness, like, oh my god, because one thing is like, hey, I'm confident and I'm gonna go there, I'm the king of the show, uh, and then you have to be careful, right? Okay, but what is something that you need to improve? Where are, we always have something to improve always, right? So don't be overconfident. That's another one, right? So have self-awareness, make your work, just go into personal development if needed, or get some coach or mentor that can help you in that way, right? But I think the rarest, I think that's it. And something that we were saying before, and I think you said it beautifully, is so that those building relationships, right? So if you think of a leader, how much time they spend in doing something, right, in front of their computer, just typing something, and how much time do they spend in conversation, right? So most of the time, like maybe 75% of the time, they are in conversation. So in conversation, we're always building relationships or breaking them, right? But we are always in that relationship arena. So I think that's something that leaders have to become good at. I mean, I have seen also, for example, one person that she was extremely good, her operational, doing what she was supposed to do, right? Executing extremely good. And suddenly she's promoted. And she was telling me, like, I hate doing the politics, right? As was how she put it, right? I hate doing politics. And I'm like, I know, but that's what we find sometimes, right? So relationships, again, how do you want to be there? If there is a toxic environment, where do you want to stand? Who do you want to be when there are so many politics, or so much politics going on around, right? So these are decisions that you have to make, also looking at yourself inside, right? Looking inwards.
Yeah, and also as you graduate into higher levels of leadership, it's like, well, don't just accept it. What can we do about it? How can
Yeah.
we create a culture where there's no room for politics because we don't have time? We've got to service our customers better. We've got to do things, and
we've got the 2030s round the corner.
Oh yeah.
Digital is not slowing down. Workforce transformation is continuing apace, and leaders have to learn new skills. So let me put you on the spot on this one. What are the challenges and opportunities that you feel leaders need to be mindful of and prepare for now when we've got the 2030s just round the corner?
I think I don't have an answer for that. And I think it's because I think 2030 is going to be so different from what we know right now. I think we are just in the abyss of something so different from what we know. So I think 2030 we will be operating in a completely different way than what we do right now. But anyway, I mean, I think the actually, if we think of AI, right, and how AI has been rising, and if we go to maybe the extremes of like Roman Jampolsky and people like that, right? So if we go to that, they're saying like in 2030, 90% of the jobs that we know right now will not exist, right? So, oops, what do we do now? I mean, I don't think it's going to be that extreme, but it is true that probably leaders, if right now if you have 15 or let's say 6 direct reportees, maybe in 2030 you have one and the rest are AI agents or whatever it is, right? But some form of AI. So I think, well, first of all, we have to be upskilling. I find some leaders saying, no, it's gonna be so much slower. That may not touch me because my industry is XYZ. I'm like, well, why don't we just have an eye on that just to see what it is, try to upskill ourselves, try to see how we're going to be dealing with AI at some point. I think there is a lot of need of open-mindedness. Like we will have to be really open-minded to the changes that we're going to be seeing month in, month out. But above all, I think we need to upskill ourselves again on leadership and being human centered, right? Because if if the change is going to be so rapid and the change is going to be so huge, then we'll need to help ourselves. We'll need to help our people. We'll have to be there for them. And I think that's probably one of the most important things that a leader will need to do, be there for the people that are in the company. So yeah, I think we should be prepared. We should be upskilling ourselves in personal development, in self-awareness, in leadership skills, but above all, in being a great leader.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? In the digital world, human-centered leadership is coming of age. Because if things like agentic AI can enable a
Yeah.
lot of what we do in our jobs as task management, then we've got so much more time to spend with our people and also navigate these tough questions that we might have to answer in the future about what's the shape of the workforce, what does it look like, what's my role, how's that shifting as a leader. So, you're a leader who is very digitally savvy, but you're very human centered at the same time. So to blend those things together, what would be your advice to leaders in terms of what they need to learn differently today versus what they did yesterday?
That's a very good question. Hmm. I think I would emphasize again like that need of that personal journey, right? I mean, at the end of the day, for me, leadership is maturing ourselves, right? Maturing our soul, so as to say. So I think going into that journey is extremely important, and having like we cannot ignore anymore, right? And we cannot say also that AI is a tool. I think we are past that phase already. AI is not anymore a tool. We are creating practically a new species. Could be, right? But it's not a tool anymore. It's intelligence that creates intelligence. We have never we until now we have always created tools. and technology. But no, we're not creating a tool. We're creating intelligence, which intelligence is only something that another species can have. So if we are creating another species, do we realize that? Are we envisioning how our relationships are going to change, how our world is going to turn around? And I think we don't know how it will go. We don't know it, and we cannot know it. But at least saying, well, there is this possibility there in the horizon and it's not so far away, I think that can help us. Saying like, because it's easy to say, that we have, we went through the Industrial Revolution as well. Well, I think this is very different. I think this is very, very different from any revolution that we have been to. I think this is going to shape the world in a very different way. That's my personal opinion. But so at least be looking into that and being like, okay, so if this may happen, who do I want to be? What do I want to do? What are the relationships that I'm going to really take care of? What will be my motivation when the world, the work, everything changes, right? So just thinking of that, being prepared to that future that looks very far away, but we don't know if it's that far away. I think that can help us to be ready in case something so dramatic happens.
What great advice to bring us to the end of our conversation, Mireia. Thank you so much for sharing so
Thank you.
openly. I'm sure many listening to this or watching it on YouTube will want to find out more about what you do, Bare&Brave, and connect to continue discussion. How do they do that?
So, well, they can go to my website, barebrave.com. They can also find me on LinkedIn under Mireia Mujika. Mujika, I know it sounds like people ask me if it's a Japanese name, but it's not Japanese. It's actually Basque from the north of Spain. Yeah, Mujika. It's not that easy. What else? Just write me an email. Anything. Mireia@bareandbrave.com. So yeah, I think these are the main ways to find me and to follow me on LinkedIn. I will. That would be great.
Well, great. Well, it's been a really enjoyable conversation with you, Mireia. I love
Thank
your
you very much.
enthusiasm behind this and ultimately focusing on the relationships, the openness, the time we need to learn ourselves as leaders as we look
Yeah.
ahead. And that
Yeah.
time is compressing all the time. So there's a big need. I really appreciate you joining me, Mireia. Thank you.
Jeremy, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this conversation. I wish we could have more time even to continue this. Really, thank you for having me. And I hope to see you soon again.
Thank you too. Goodbye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Rethink Leadership podcast with me, Jeremy Blaine. Please like, comment and support us on your favourite platform and subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can watch as well as listen to each episode.